Hi guys, if you appreciate my content, click the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really takes notice when my videos are uploaded. Thanks guys. As we talked about before, the Dune saga in large part is about the different potential ways in which humanity can develop and the issues associated with each of these paths. In this video we will discuss the Bene Tleilax, the deeply religious and extremely xenophobic group of humans who live on the fringe of the imperium. The Tleilaxu, more than perhaps any other group in the Dune universe, have a poor reputation throughout the imperium. They are known to be deceptive, untrustworthy. Their technology is also a matter of controversy throughout the human empire. The Tleilaxu focused an emphasis on biological technology, that is, genetic tinkering of human DNA. The Tleilaxu homeworld was on the fringes of the human empire, and they did not allow visitors from off-world to land upon their planet. The Tleilaxu represent a specific niche and the new set of human evolutionary branches which all begin to bud during the turmoil left in the wake of the Butlerian Jihad. The Tleilaxu at some point in their history forced the female sex into redundancy with the creation of Axolotl tanks, which were used by the Tleilaxu to construct several forms of biologically based creations. All Tleilaxu masters and face dancers were born from Axolotl tanks. Perhaps it is more accurate to say that they converted those who would have been biologically considered human females into Axolotl tanks, who lacked any agency of their own. The Axolotl tanks, he remembered emerging time after time, bright lights and padded mechanical hands. The hands rotated him, and in the unfocused blurs of the newborn, he saw a great mound of female flesh, monstrous in her almost immobile grossness. A maze of dark tubes linked her body to giant metal containers. Axolotl tank? The creation of Axolotl tanks was the first Tleilaxu mistake. The reality of Axolotl tanks would be repulsive to any morally and ethically inclined society. The Bene Gesserit are repulsed with their discovery of the truth of the Axolotl tanks, though they eventually adopt the technology for a time out of necessity. "We will serve you in all ways except one," Teraza said. "We will never become receptacles for Golas." Waff paled. Teraza continued. "None of us is now, nor will ever become," she paused, "an Axolotl tank." When the honored Matres, descendants of the Bene Gesserit, and the God Emperor's fish-speaker soldiers who flew off into the scattering 1500 years earlier, return into the old empire, they seem to possess a deep hatred of the Tleilaxu. In fact, most of the Tleilaxu civilization is eradicated by the honored Matres eventually. In Brian Herbert's Dune sequels, it is revealed that a contingent of the Bene Gesserit and fish speakers freed the women who had been kept in slavery by the Tleilaxu groups who had also fled into the scattering. The honored Matres were in fact not merely a merging of the Bene Gesserit and the fish speakers, but of the Tleilaxu women who had once been Axolotl tanks as well. The destruction of the Tleilaxu civilization might in part have been the result of the descendants of a once oppressed group striking back against the oppressors. In the old Imperium, eventually the Tleilaxu even managed to engineer the spice melange using their Axolotl tanks, which somewhat eases the Empire's dependence on the worms of the planet Arrakis, which at this time is known simply as Rakis. As time goes on, the Tleilaxu managed to continue to perfect their face dancers through genetic tinkering. The face dancers were once a servant class of the Tleilaxu and lived only to do the bidding of the masters. Eventually, the Tleilaxu face dancers developed the ability to copy the memories and persona as well as the appearances of those they impersonate. This was the second Tleilaxu mistake. The face dancers were, by being given the ability to copy personas, given the potential to acquire wisdom. Once wisdom is acquired, it cannot be given back. With the power of knowledge, some of the face dancers were able to break free and grow to become more powerful than the Tleilaxu masters ever could have imagined. "They had a Tleilaxu master too," Marty said. "I saw him when they went under the net. I would have so liked to study another master. Don't see why. Always whistling at us, always making it necessary to stump them down. I don't like treating the masters that way, and you know it. If it weren't for them, they're not gods, Daniel. Neither are we. I still think you let them escape. You're so anxious to prune your roses. What would you have said to the master anyway? Daniel asked. I was going to joke when he asked who we were. They always ask that. I was going to say, what did you expect, God himself with a flowing beard? Daniel chuckled. That would have been funny. They have such a hard time accepting the fact that face dancers can be independent of them. I don't see why. It's a natural consequence. They gave us the power to absorb the memories and experiences of other people. Gather enough of those and... It's personas we take, Marty. Whatever. The master should have known that we would gather enough of them one day to make our own decisions about our future. And theirs? At some point, at least some of the face dancers developed the ability to absorb and store multiple personas, accumulating great knowledge. The beings known as Daniel and Marty appear in the books Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune to be advanced face dancers who had freed themselves from the Tleilaxu and developed free will through the accumulation of enough personas. We never know exactly how much influence these two have had on the recent events of the Dune Imperium, but they appear to be more technologically advanced than any other group we have seen prior. Of course, in the Brian Herbert Dune sequels, the idea that Marty and Daniel are face dancers is contradicted, even though the text in the previous two novels seems to support it. I guess it's really up to the reader to decide what they consider canon and not canon, but I tend to lean heavily in the direction that Frank Herbert intended Daniel and Marty to be viewed as Tleilaxu face dancers. It fits more in with the themes of the Dune saga, which heavily center around the relationship between the oppressors and the oppressed. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe and like for more Quinn's ideas and more science fiction lore.